now we're both on camera here. I'm going to pan this over a little bit.
Basically, we got Dave's arrows all squared up. We're just going to start cleaning the ends a little bit with some Max Clean AAE wipes. And we're going to use some denatured alcohol and some Q-tips to get the inside of the shafts where the inserts meet nice and clean. And then we're going to start insert tuning now that everything's squared.
So Aaron's on the end with the wipes from AAE. That came as a kit, by the way. There's going to be a ton of pictures also with this. That kit came from AAE with the cleaning wipes, a primer pen, and the glue bottle. So I found that on Amazon. That's easily available on Amazon. If you go on their website as well, it's good because it gives you everything you need. Bang, right in one package. You're not forgetting anything. Anytime you're working with any type of epoxy, any type of adhesive, but mainly epoxy, you need to not only physically clean the product or the surface by, let's say, scuffing it, which the roller did with the abrasive pad, but then you need to chemically clean it to allow your epoxy to seal and harden and strengthen. Epoxy's great, but if you don't prep the surface thoroughly, you're not going to get that proper adhesion, and your insert needs to be properly adhered, without a doubt, 100%.
Oh yeah, because if you lose, imagine you lose an insert in a $200 Reinhardt target, right, and then you're starting to ruin other arrows and inserts, shooting that insert inside your $200 target. It's just a headache. That's why I use a 24-hour cure, Serious Archery, 2-part insert epoxy. This stuff is really good. Best I've used. I haven't really worked with hot melt or anything like that yet, but I was thinking I should, given it just cools and then you can shoot the arrow. It would be nice if Dave and I could just, boom, stick an insert in and start bare shafting his bow today, but you know, we're gonna use epoxy, so that'll be a part 2.
Yep. And I'm okay with that. Me and Aaron were just talking off camera about that. I'm okay with that because this is a huge investment. Not necessarily dollar-wise, but this is such a critical aspect to your hunt. I'm okay with sacrificing a day or two, letting these things really set up. And to show everybody what's going on here. These came from the factory, keep in mind. So they were cut at the factory at one point. I had my shop cut them to length, so that's another cut. We just had more debris from squaring them up. All this right here is, for lack of a better term, that's just leftover carbon residue. And if you do not get rid of this, your epoxy is not going to set up properly. So take the time. Denatured alcohol, you could find that at Home Depot, hardware stores. It's used for multiple things, but it's a great cleaning product for what we're doing. Get a couple Q-tips and take the time, prep your material before you go to the next step. And that's where we're going to meet you guys next. Stay tuned. Aaron is starting another critical step. This is all critical, these next few steps here.
So this is the insert tuning that we were talking about earlier. I use my Serious tool to see if I'm spinning outside these tiny little lines with really tight tolerances, and as you can see, there's no wobble to this at all.
Nice. I got it zoomed in so I can actually see that logo pretty good right now.
When I first stuck the insert in, it was wild, and Dave could attest to that.
Yes.
And now it's spinning true. So I marked that. I put a dot on the shaft, and then I put a black dot on the insert. And boom, now I know where that one spins well. Now I can remove the insert, put glue, and just go right to that point.
I see what you're doing. So you're lining up. Basically at that point, we have to line up the black Sharpie with the silver Sharpie, and then we're right back to this insert too.
Exactly.
So I will be throwing some of these dummy terms out there for anybody else that's just getting into it, so you can actually understand what we're talking about. This whole piece here is your insert. That's a field tip. And now that we've spun this, we have to ensure that that black Sharpie mark is now lined up with the mark on the shaft, which is gray, silver.
Yep. And you don't want it to shift at all because it spins at its absolute best right here. So we're going to lock it there with epoxy.
Nice.
And generally, I'll just do this as a first step before I start gluing.
Okay.
So that I expose myself to the least amount of epoxy fumes possible.
Exactly.
I like my brain, well, I kind of like my brain cells.
Exactly. One thing I will add is anybody that's getting into this for their first time, do yourself a favor. I'm going to stand up here. Do yourself a favor and give yourself a workspace. You're going to definitely need some supplies. You're going to need a work area. You're going to need a flat surface. Obviously, by all means, this is just a folding table in my garage. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, but we have all our supplies laid out. We have everything ready to go. You know, we have some cleaning supplies here if needed, some paper towels, the Q-tips. These are going to come in handy on the next step. These are acid brushes. We're going to help to mix the epoxy with. And be smart about this process. So what Aaron's doing, we're going to get all of these arrows to this same stage, and then we're going to start our mixing process. Because once you start mixing this epoxy, you're not going to have a lot of time to work. And we'll touch on that in the next video. All right, so check this out, guys. What did we find, Aaron?
We found a horrible wobble where I put the insert in initially. So now I'm going to turn this like a 1/16 of an inch at a time to find the sweet spot in the carbon inlay to start tuning that wobble out, because that wobble's bad. That will affect your groups.
So not even a quarter of a turn, guys. We're talking micro adjustments here.
Just tiny little turns. And we'll get it out.
Getting better, it looks.
Should. Come on, baby. That's better. No, not really. Now it's getting a little better. Some arrows do come out to just be target arrows, though.
That's what I was going to ask you. And, you know, if you get to a point where, you know, you turned it all the way around, obviously there is going to be nothing in this world is perfect. So this was a man-made product, so there's going to be some deviation somewhere along the line.
This is way better than it started, but I might throw a T on this arrow.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's probably about as good as this arrow's gonna get. I'll keep trying just to make... Ooh, did that get worse? It did.
So keep that in mind, guys. If you get one that you just can't get it to spin absolutely perfect, and you don't think it's ethical enough to put into your quiver, just make it a target arrow. So what did we find on this? It's new arrow now.
So new arrow now, and it's spinning perfect right where I first inserted. So this arrow is definitely going to be a hunting arrow,
nice.
Whereas we couldn't get the last one to spin perfect, and I labeled that with a T so that Dave knows that's one of his target arrows, 20, 30 yards, backyard type target arrow. And this one's good where it's at.
Very cool.
So.
And you knew right off the bat, as soon as you spun it a couple times, you were able to tell.
Instantly.
So now what he's doing now, he's going to do the 2 marks again, and then when it comes time to glue them in, make sure those marks line up exact.